So far, what inspires this deck, man?
I just think that the ghoul package is really strong. A lot of people post the Nilfgaard patch. Everyone decided that Varan Warrior was the great card to play, and it was really good starting off. But then they nerfed it, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like all the decks with it basically were too all in on that strategy. And I think the Necker package in general is very strong. I think ghouls are very strong. So that's kind of like what started
Men
the
of
core of the deck
Goodwin,
was the ghouls, Neckers, Neckers Warriors, and
attack!
Monster Nest.
I see
And
it.
then it just kind of evolved from there. It just kind of was more of a how do you flood a board so fast and so efficiently that your opponent can't deal with it?
Look at this, dude. Look at this. This is my life. Okay.
Uh, I mean, it could be worse. We have three easy mulligans, so we always mulligan the Necker first so we can blacklist the third one, and then we just mulligan the two Witchers. And there's not really a bad draw that we have in our deck, though, at that point, once we get rid of those. Like, this hand's beautiful.
For Samaria!
Uh, oh my goodness. I'm actually not sure what we're playing against. I haven't seen a Hansel in years.
I've seen one, usually it's the Shani Pavetta list, but we're actually not that dead to it, because one of the cool things about Neckers is that if you only have one out, and it's the lowest thing on the board, Pavetta will eat the first one, then it'll go ahead and the Necker spawns the second one, then it eats that. And because we have so many in our deck, we're actually not that concerned about it, and we kind of eventually get above him.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna start with the Necker or the Witchers.
Yeah, generally you want to lead on the Necker for a variety of reasons. If people are attacking Epidemic right now, which can kind of suck in some situations. And generally you need to remember that your monster passive always carries over the last thing that you played. So you want to save the Witchers for after the Neckers, so that if they decide they want to pass after that tempo swing, that you get to save a Witcher instead.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right. So
Can't. And then from here we can just play a Necker Warrior. We just kind of want to get those in first because the Necker Warrior makes base copies, not actual copies. So we always want to have all of our as many Necker Warriors as possible before we start consuming, so that the ones in our deck are buffed up as well as the ones on the field.
and with the new
But
buff, it's really good. They actually go into the bottom of the deck.
yeah, it's huge actually. It made it go from a card that you really couldn't play in a deck consistently to being a very consistent and good card. So from here, we actually have two different lines we can take. We can play a Monster Nest if we want, and kind of commit to this round a little bit. If we do that, we need to pull a Necker Warrior next round with her draw. Or we can just play the Witchers here and hope that he passes. I don't think he will because Henselt decks tend to be all in, so I think we kind of have to play a Monster Nest here. And given our hand as well, we have so many just board buffs between Zoltan and Yennefer that we can go ahead and afford to just kind of push this round. It's very hard for him to actually outrace us unless he gets a stupid combo with what's her name?
And
Margarita.
yeah, and also not just that, but like you might lose the all in, but you have residual on like he doesn't, right?
Exactly, because Hensel decks tend to be very all in. They have to spend all the resources in one round, and because we have Necros, we get to carry over a lot of advantage to the next two rounds. So I wouldn't play the other Monster Nest here. We want to save it for one of the later rounds. But we can go ahead and we can play the Witchers here, and then the turn after that we can play an Ekamara, one of them, to just start buffing the Neckers at
I'm
that
too
point.
old for this shit.
Well, how about a game of Gwent?
Wait, this is generally what you want to look for with this deck. You want to look for this type of a hand where you can fill a board. You actually fill the board quicker than anything even dwarves do because of how many bodies Monster Nest gives you along with the Witchers. And once we get to that level of a board flood, then all of our buffs just become insane for us.
Okay.
That's a good hit for us.
Yeah, that he got the two really bad options, I guess.
So yeah, right here, I go ahead, I would Ekamara. You want to play it in the front row because we have Zoltan Animal Tamer as well. We'd want to just Ekamara our biggest Witcher. The reason we eat the bigger one and not then the sixes is so that we can eat it then with the goal and get the maximum amount of value out of it that's possible. Because right now both graveyards are empty of any other minions, and we can go ahead and we're guaranteed to hit our 7 in the grave.
Okay, so he had a bad draw with that, and he went aggressive right away.
Yeah, we can fight this. What we want to do, though, because of the way our passive works, instead of ghouling right here and right now, we actually want to Zoltan first, play the bird, because the bird is counted as a neutral minion, not a spawned minion right now. We don't know if that's an actual bug or not, but if we played it last and he passes and we win the round, the bird carries over, so we want to buff now, and then we want to ghoul after that. We're going to lose out on 2 points overall for that, but in exchange, we're going to gain a much bigger carryover target with our passive. See, look at that. Like he went ahead and made his power play with his hero ability, and we beat his board with one card.
And I just want to point out that once again, this is my personal opinion, but what broke that is this, dude.
Yeah.
That gives you so much backup.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think that Neckers or Neca Warrior are specifically overpowered right now. I think they're in a pretty good spot. But Monster Nest gives you so many more bodies than any other card other than Witchers or Crones can do right now. And then it lets you pull out 4 Neckers at a time, which is infinitely stronger than if you only have the one Necker out. Like, one Necker's kind of balanced, I think. I think it's in a pretty good spot as it is. But having the ability to carry over 4 bodies per round is just something most decks can't handle right now.
Yeah.
So here we can just go ahead and Gold War guaranteed to make an 11 power. He wasted one of his cards here just to make us lose 7 power, which we're not really, that doesn't matter to us. He still didn't even gain card advantage there either.
And like he went all in, like as I said earlier, but he won't have any residual strength to carry over. Well, we will have so much to go on.
Yeah, we're going to carry over probably around 40 power when it's all said and done. Maybe a little bit less, 31. And yeah, this is where the power of the deck comes from, is being able to carry that over consistently. We're a little bit unlucky, so we actually want to try to 2-round him. Normally, if we had another Necker Warrior, we can go ahead here and just kind of carry out to the 3rd round if we wanted to. But since we don't, we just kind of want to go all in here. And then his only out to us is Bork. So I lead with the Monster Nest here because we know we're 1 even card advantage up around. We're already up 30 points. It's hard for him to win. So we're going to just try to push this round as hard as we can. And at this point, honestly, with what we have in hand, we can probably actually push him hard enough that even a Bork doesn't beat us.
Nasty wounds, those, but you'll live.
And dude, I'm telling you, Monster Nest is not just so good, it has one of the coolest
I'm
animations.
afraid.
Yeah, I really like the card, actually. I think it's a very underrated card in that aspect. And I think overall was one that we, just as a community, kind of missed for a couple weeks. It got changed from just doubling your breedables to making just the 3 copies. And the doubling wouldn't have helped a deck like this, but the making 3 copies is very relevant here. At this point, we just get to start flooding the board. We can go ahead, we can Katakin and Ekamara in whichever order we want. It doesn't really matter here. Generally, I Katakin first and then Ekamara eat the Katakin. Again, in case we have to carry over 1 more round, it gives us the biggest body on the board.
And I think believe 7 is the highest so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One really cool thing here we could have done is we could have Ekamara and eaten the Stennis, and then eaten the Stennis, which would have given us a pair of 18 bodies. I kind of like this again just because it's a little bit better for us. Again, we don't even care if he scorches here. We lose 24 and we're still up almost 40 points on him. And then if he doesn't, we can also, if we feel like it, we can convert all of our power into a Karen.
Wow, this one is gonna be a fat Kairan, I'll tell you that. And he already did the shackle, so I feel pretty good. I don't think that he will run like a Winnie.
There'll be nothing to
Yeah, one of
prove
his
when I'm done with you.
he's in for a very rude awakening here.
Right now he's like, value!
Yeah, now we can just honestly just Yennefer him back. We want to make sure we can protect those last 3 Neckers that have been weakened, so that they're there on the board for the Karen triggers. There is a little bit of merit here to just carry on eating our 3 biggest minions and buffing them by +3, but Yennefer doesn't see much better value than this kind of a board.
That is one impressive swing, I'm telling you. And not just that, but what I'm seeing on the board, like a lot of people just see the numbers and everything, but the positioning of the units itself is extremely important because of the weather changes and because of the changes that happened within the last patch.
Yeah, and again, like, what does he even do to this? He could debomb our board and we're still ahead by probably around 30 points, even if he debombs it. Karen gets to eat whatever we want and we get to carry 30 plus points that way. There's not really much he can actually do here. So the deck actually has a lot of resilience in that aspect. Like, what? Okay, go ahead. We're going to just clear skies your frost here. So even his best play doesn't really affect us that much. And even if he were to Biting Frost us again here, we just carry on, eat 3 non-Necker minions, and all of our Neckers go up by +3. There's really not a lot that a lot of decks can do against this kind of a strategy right now because no one's prepared for it.
And this is where the versatility of Dagon is actually kicking in there.
Exactly. Like if we had Arid there, it just makes an 11-point body, but it doesn't actually solve that kind of a problem for us. So what I like doing in a position like this, we can kind of just hedge our bets a little in case he has a second Frost in his deck. We can Ekamara and eat one of our 12-point minions, and it kind of covers us two different ways. It covers us from another Frost, and it kind of gives us a little bit of protection from a Scorch. And again, because we have a board full of Neckers, it also is actually worth a 13-point minion because it buffs all of them by +1 right now.
Yeah, that's true. I will put it. Would you put it on range? I need the Stennis, so you in case of any. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if he had kept playing, I would have put it on the very back row. Again, you kind of want to. One of the cool things about Ekamara and what makes it such a good card and an undervalued card, in my opinion, is that it became agile with the Nilfgaard patch, and that gives it a lot more flexibility with what you can do with it.